Picture an ordinary morning in 1950s Britain, so quiet you could hear your own footsteps on the pavement. Curtains twitch, a kettle warms, and a neighbor offers a soft greeting through an open window. Nothing beeps, buzzes, or demands attention. Time moves at a human pace, unmeasured and unhurried. It's a way of beginning the day most people today will never experience. Before traffic thickened and screens took over, mornings felt shared, almost ceremonial. And as that calm settles in, it gently leads us back to a Britain learning how to live again, after war and worry slowly faded away. By the early 1950s, Britain was not celebrating so much as steadying itself. The war had ended, but its presence lingered in routines, attitudes, and expectations. Homes were repaired slowly, possessions carefully kept, and nothing was taken for granted. People learned to make do and mend, not as a slogan, but as a way of life shaped by necessity. Daily habits reflected that careful mindset. Washing was planned around weather, meals around availability, and journeys around time rather than speed. Neighborhoods mattered because people depended on one another, sharing favors, news, and quiet reassurance. There was comfort in routine and pride in managing with what you had. Today, life feels faster and more disposable. We replace rather than repair, rush rather than wait, and rarely know who lives 2 doors down. Back then, simplicity wasn't romantic. It was practical. Yet within that practicality grew resilience, patience, and a sense that everyday life, however modest, had value. To understand the mornings, streets, and homes of the 1950s, we first have to understand this moment when Britain was learning, carefully and collectively, how to live again. It was a fragile balance between memory and hope, felt in ordinary, unremarkable days everywhere then. Step outside onto a 1950s street, and the first thing you notice is the soundscape. Footsteps, distant voices, the clatter of delivery carts, and children's laughter drifting until dusk. Streets were lived in, not passed through. Front doors were often left unlocked, not from carelessness, but confidence. Everyone knew who belonged. Children played games that needed nothing more than chalk, imagination, and time. Parents watched from doorways or kitchen windows, trusting the street itself to keep an eye out. Today, roads hurry us along, but then they held us together. Every corner had a familiar face: the postman, the shopkeeper, the neighbor who always paused for a chat. News traveled by conversation, not headlines, and problems were noticed before they grew too large. Public space felt shared, not claimed. Looking back now, it's easy to forget how rare that level of trust truly was. We didn't know we were living in something special. It simply felt normal. The street wasn't just a place between destinations, it was where life happened, slowly and collectively. It was an unwritten agreement, passed quietly between generations, that everyone looked out for one another, without notices, rules, or reminders, simply because that was how life worked then on those ordinary streets every single day there. As evening settled and doors finally closed, that sense of belonging followed people indoors. The rhythm of the street didn't end at the doorstep. It carried on inside the home, shaping evenings just as surely as it shaped the day. Inside a 1950s home, space was modest but rarely felt empty. Families gathered naturally, because there was nowhere else to go. Meals were shared around a single table, conversations stretching longer than the food itself. Without constant distractions, people listened. Silence wasn't awkward, it was restful. Evenings followed gentle routines. Homework was done at the table, knitting or small repairs nearby, while a single screen or radio brought voices from afar. It wasn't entertainment on demand. It was an event, waited for, and enjoyed together. Today, we scatter into separate rooms, each absorbed elsewhere. Back then, togetherness wasn't planned. It simply happened. Comfort came from familiarity rather than convenience. Rooms were warmed, tidied, and used fully. Objects lasted years, sometimes decades, carrying memories with them. Patience was learned early because waiting was part of life. You waited for hot water, for programs, for letters to arrive. In that waiting, conversations grew. Modern homes are larger, brighter, and filled with choices, yet they can feel strangely quiet. The 1950s home buzzed softly with shared presence. You knew who was there without checking. You felt it. Those evenings, unremarkable at the time, shaped bonds that lasted lifetimes. And as night settled and lights dimmed, the sense of closeness created indoors echoed the same trust found outside. Home and street were connected worlds, each reinforcing the other, preparing us to understand why those memories still feel warmer than the rooms we sit in today. That feeling lingers, quietly reminding us of shared time. Looking back, it's tempting to believe the 1950s were simpler because life was easier. In truth, it wasn't. Days were longer, choices fewer, and comforts limited. Yet what lingers is connection. People shared time because there was little else to distract them. They shared silence without needing to fill it. They shared lives in ways that now feel almost unfamiliar. Value wasn't measured by possessions, but by presence. A conversation mattered because it couldn't be replayed. A visit mattered because it required effort. Even waiting had meaning because it was experienced together. Today, we're richer in things, but poorer in moments like those. That's why these memories tug at the heart. They remind us of a version of ourselves shaped by patience, closeness, and quiet understanding. Not perfect lives, but deeply human ones. And that gentle reminder prepares us to look at the present differently, asking what we might carry, what did we lose, and what can we still remember. Life today is faster, easier, and undeniably more comfortable. Yet something gentle slipped away along the way. It's the patience, the neighborliness, the sense of being truly present. We can't turn back the clock, but we can carry pieces forward. Maybe some things don't need reinventing, just remembering. In noticing each other again, we quietly honor the everyday life that shaped us for generations to come.